Am I the Hobbit rocket for letting my daughter and her husband move in with me so they won't be homeless? This situation is complicated and I'm at my wit's end. I have 2 daughters who are civil to each other but don't get along with each other. My eldest is married to Steve while my youngest is engaged to Adam. Steve and Adam are so different they disliked each other the first time they met. This sounds like a recipe for disaster. Steve works part-time because he treasures family time with my daughter. They spend their time traveling and exploring different parts of the States. He spends freely because he often says he can't take his money with him when he dies. Adam is an executive, and for his side business, he owns several dozen properties. He works about 80 hours a week at both jobs because his philosophy is that he wants to make as much money as possible while he's young so that he can retire early. Steve thinks Adam is a corporate shill and basically blames him for everything that's wrong with society. Steve said that Adam is actively keeping people from buying homes and making them dependent on him. Adam thinks Steve is a slacker and has told Steve people like him who do the bare minimum but expect handouts are what's wrong with society. Neither of them are bad and they treat my daughters well. I retired last year due to my health, so Adam built a house for me so that I can live comfortably. I was able to customize everything in the house to fit my taste. Adam owns the house, pays for all the utilities, and charges me $1 a month for rent. Part of our deal is that no one else can live in the house but me. He was very clear about this. Steve recently lost his job, so he and my eldest are living off of her single income. As you can imagine, they are struggling. My eldest recently called me crying because their savings are almost gone and they can't make the next month's rent. She asked if she and Steve could move in with me until he finds another job. I live on a fixed income, so I don't have any money to set them up at another apartment. She's my daughter, and I couldn't let her be homeless, so I let Steve and her move in. I gave them strict rules and a time limit on when they had to move out. I didn't think my youngest and Adam would find out because they live in another state, but somehow she found out. She called and screamed at me last night for betraying Adam's trust, but I argued that I'm a mother to 2 daughters and I can't let one be homeless. I told her about the rules and time limit and begged her to not tell Adam. She hung up on me, so I don't know what's going to happen. I know I went back on an agreement, but I had a good reason. Edit. I couldn't add many details into my original post because I was afraid of going over the character limits. Adam pays the taxes and utilities on this house, but because it's the only house he has in the state, he keeps his financials separate from the rest of his properties. Also, he doesn't really have anything to do with the house. Instead, he gave it over to my youngest to take care of, so she handles all the bills and maintenance and pays them out of an account he set up. She noticed the increase in utility cost, which is why she called. We just spoke again and I laid my soul to bare. I knew I was going back on our agreement, but it was to keep her sister from being homeless. We had a lengthy conversation and in the end, she agreed not to tell Adam. She'll cover the increased utility cost out of her own pocket so he won't notice. In exchange, her sister and Steve will have 3 months, then we'll have to move out. I originally had told them they had 6 months. I'm lucky to have such a compassionate daughter. Thank you for taking the time to read my post. Some of the comments were very hurtful, but some were very helpful. You made me realize I should have called my youngest at the start and asked. That would have saved a lot of tears. Yeah. And I don't know that this ended on a solution either. So where it ended was OP's other daughter, Adam's wife, has now agreed to lie to Adam. So there's more people lying now? That doesn't sound like a solution. This should have been communicated up front. And whenever this all came about, before she ever made the decision to let them come stay with her, which is the same as making the decision as violating the agreement that she had that allows her to stay in this house for $1 a month. It's not her decision. That's the point. It wasn't her decision. It's not her house. She needed to call and have this discussion with her other daughter and Adam and say, here's where we're at. I don't feel like I have a choice. Will you please allow me to do this? And let the decision be on them. Because if she had done that, then the decision on whether or not her oldest daughter and Steve were going to be homeless would have been on her youngest daughter and Adam. If she had placed that decision in their lap, they probably would have at least thought it over a hell of a lot longer because the implications for that decision are putting somebody on the street. And maybe they would have made the decision to let her come stay there for a longer period of time. You've harmed yourself by trying to keep it a secret. And I feel like you've harmed yourself further by convincing your youngest daughter to lie to her husband. This is not going to end well. This is one of those situations where communicating clearly could have solved everything. You knew there was one stipulation and you violated it. You're going to be lucky if everybody doesn't get kicked out on their ass, because right now Adam has every right to do that. It's not the right thing to do. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but you violated your agreement that allows you to stay in this house for $1 a month. Why would you do that? Why would you put yourself in that kind of situation when you could have just asked? And if they said no, that's on them. There's too much at risk here. There are too many factors. There are too many variables that can go badly here that could have all been avoided with some clear communication up front. I'm going to say you're the asshole for doing this. Let's see where you're at on the ascon scale here. As a quick reminder, ascon 1 is the worst. Ascon 4 is the least amount of asshole. Ascon 1 is there's no way you should have done that. You're a terrible human being. Ascon 2 is you definitely shouldn't have done that, but it doesn't make you a terrible person. Ascon 3 is you probably should have approached that differently. And Ascon 4 is you probably could have approached that differently. Maybe you're an asshole, maybe you're not. My gut says 2, because she definitely should not have done this, but it doesn't make her a terrible person. I understand why she did it, and she thought she was doing it for a good reason, but this choice leads to more risk than the alternative choices did. It may be a 3, she may be a 3, probably should have approached that differently, but I think at 2, you definitely shouldn't have done that sticks better for me, because she definitely shouldn't have done this. There were better options available. Even if she was afraid of where those options led, if she had run through the proper channels and checked the boxes along the way, she wouldn't have put herself at risk for getting kicked out of this house. She wouldn't have put her daughter in a situation where she has to now lie to her husband. This choice was a poor choice. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I don't expect everybody to agree with me. Everybody's opinions are shaped on their life experiences, right? And none of us live the same lives. So we're going to think differently. We're going to have different perspectives. Mine is just one. It's one perspective based on my journey to this point. I don't expect you to agree with me. It's healthy that we disagree. When we disagree, we can do it like adults, and we can do it in a healthy way and discuss the different things that we're seeing in comments without attacking each other. We can. Let's give it a shot.